I agree. Wonderful. All right, everyone, as it is 7 o'clock, I will call to order this meeting of the Town of St. Andrews Planning Advisory Committee. It is May 21st, 2025 today, and we're here at the W.C. O'Neill Arena Complex in the council chambers. Recording of attendance as I look around the table, all members of PAC are here and in person. We have Alex Scopin and Judy Hartford from the planning office and Paul Knopper from the town tonight. Land recognition. As we get started tonight, we would like to recognize that we are on the traditional unceded territory of the Peskotomuhkati people, and we welcome you to our meeting. Looking around the table, is there any conflict of interest on any of the files tonight? Kevin?
I'd like to declare conflict on PAC 250413.
25, was that the second
It's
one?
the first variance
Okay.
application.
Okay. You? Anyone else? No, there being none. Perfect. We'll move forward. We have in our package tonight the minutes from our April 16th.
Madam Chair, can we get an approval of the agenda first?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's only been a month. All right, I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda. Thanks, Ms. Mercero. Thank you very much. Do I have a seconder? Mr. Tanner, excellent. No other comments or questions. I will call the question. All those in favor of approving the agenda, please signify by saying aye. And none opposed, we will move forward. Thanks. Thanks for that, Paul. Appreciate that. We also have in our package tonight the minutes from April 16th, and we'll get a motion on the table to adopt those minutes. Anyone? Anyone? Thank you, Mr. Carey. Excellent. A seconder, Ms. Mercero. Thank you. Just a friendly amendment to these minutes as well. There's just a spelling correction for one of our residents, Mr. Bizzo. We're just going to correct his the spelling of his name for the final minutes. And so if there are no other questions or comments, all those in favor of adopting the minutes from April 16th, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
As there is none opposed, those minutes are adopted. Thank you very much. And we look back to our agenda. Tonight we have 3 items. We're going to start with PAC 250508. This item is a temporary use request for 126 Reed Ave. That is PID 01323591. The applicant is seeking a temporary use authorization to allow a recycling depot involving removal, deposit, compaction of cardboard materials. And that is the file we're going to be addressing. I'll turn it over to Mr. Gulpin to take us through his file.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'll just share my screen. I'm also rusty. That showing up for everybody? Okay. So as was said, this is PID 01323591, 126 Reed Avenue. The applicant is Dominique Berlenger, and this is a temporary use application. I did notice in the agenda it said zoning. It's technically a variance, but so this is something that you will decide on, PAC. It's not views, just to make that clear.
Oh, okay. Okay, great.
So a bit of background on the property. It's not too far from where you are right now. It's a little over an acre in size. It currently contains a 2.5-story, 3,650 square foot main residential building and an accessory building, a shed. In 2023, the property was rezoned from serviced residential to multiple residential for the purposes of a rooming house. And the application that you will discuss tonight is to specifically, it's to place a 208-volt cardboard baler in the shed at 126 Reed Avenue to be used by businesses for a period of up to 1 year. And I'll explain the sort of recycling depot, why it's called that in a second. So the applicant owns several businesses as well as the subject property. And he believes that a significant amount of cardboard from those businesses is not being recycled and is going to the landfill. That's from his experience and in talking with other business owners. The municipality does provide recycling pickup for residents, but not for businesses. So there are private options that businesses can access, but it is kind of an extra step. And I guess due to that extra kind of hurdle, it's not happening as much as it otherwise potentially could. So looking at the zoning bylaw, there is a definition for a recycling depot that includes what this would be. It's a building that is used for the deposit, collection, and handling of waste metal, paper, that would be the specific one in this case, rags, tires, bottles, other materials that are to be delivered wholesale to other offsite operations for further processing or salvage. It's defined in the bylaw and clearly not allowed in any zone. So it's something that the bylaw is saying this is clearly not an allowed use. And I'll get to the kind of temporary use, how does that work in a second. But the way the operations, as explained to me by the applicant, would work is the shed would be closed at all times. So it wouldn't be directly accessible by the business owners, but there would be a slit in the shed and business owners could drop folded cardboard boxes through that slit. When enough cardboard was there to make a bale, the baler would be used to compact the cardboard. It creates about I think a ton. This is what it was told to me, about a ton of material that's compacted into a kind of cube shape. That's stored inside until a trailer arrives for pickup. So it'd just kind of be a regular vehicle with the trailer behind it picking these bales up. The bale would be loaded with a hand cart, so it's not an additional vehicle. It's just kind of a push cart thing that slides into a pallet and it can jack up or down. Then that gets loaded into the trailer and that's taken offsite for further processing. And the applicant has, I guess, a potential agreement with Charlotte County Bottle, the kind of recycling center in there's one in St. George, there's one in the industrial park in St. Stephen. So they would provide the baler, they would deal with all of picking up the cardboard and taking it offsite and the further processing offsite. So a bit of an overview of the property. This is a slightly older aerial picture. So this shed over here is gone. I don't know. I'm not sure if my mouse is showing up, but there's a shed kind of at the northern side of the property that's gone, the main dwelling. And then the shed in the south of the property is where the baler itself would be located. So that's the zoning. It's in the multiple residential zone. These are some photos of the site. So there's lots of space in the driveway for loading. And that's the shed itself. Close-up of the shed, where the slit would be. And this is, I guess, the baler that would be provided. I'm not sure where it is right now, but I think somewhere at the industrial park in St. Stephen, maybe. So looking at the municipal plan, there are two policies that I think are directly relevant to this. There is a policy that council shall seek to further reduce the generation of solid waste throughout the community. And then there's also a policy around specifically around home-based businesses, but it kind of deals with how businesses in residential areas should be treated, and that condition should be set to minimize the effect of those businesses on adjacent residential properties and streets. So the definition of recycling depot is quite expansive, and it, does imply a large scale operation, the kind of thing you would typically see in an industrial park. The proposed use is relatively small scale. It's just one piece of equipment, and it's temporary. It would be approved by PAC for up to a year. There are conditions that I'll talk about if you decide to approve this that can limit the impact further. And there wouldn't be any opportunity to expand or continue beyond 1 year without an additional public process. So you're not saying this can be a recycling depot. You're going to say this, if you approve it, this can be a recycling depot. Specifically, this piece of equipment can be used here with these conditions. But as it does meet that more expansive definition, it has to be treated this way under the zoning bylaw. The applicant believes that additional traffic would be fairly minimal. And again, it's not large trucks. It's kind of your average, maybe pickup trucks pulling a trailer. Wouldn't be that different from landscaping vehicles in residential neighborhoods. The greatest concern, both from the applicant and from myself, is around accumulation of debris outside the building. Conditions can exist for clear signage, and conditions can require that no cardboard is left outside buildings or stored outside buildings. And if those conditions cannot be complied with, then the use would have to immediately stop. It would become an enforcement matter. The applicant isn't entirely sure if this will be a popular thing with businesses. He very much is putting this forward as he wants to test the waters, and see if more can be done. And so it certainly doesn't make any sense to look at a rezoning at this point. The best way to do this is a temporary use, and there's no permanent fixtures that would be installed. There's no foundations. It's just putting this piece of machinery in the shed. Be very easy to remove it at the end of the year. So we did neighborhood polling within 100 meters, and there was concerns over noise, traffic, and other impacts to nearby residential properties. And I have not addressed noise in the presentation or in the report, because I asked the applicant for information on the particular model and what type of sound rating it had, and he didn't get back to me until today. So I didn't have that information at the time. If you want to ask me questions about it, I'll be happy to share what I was told. But the reason it was not addressed is because I'm not an expert on these matters, and it's important that it comes from either the applicant themselves or some kind of expert in noise and industrial equipment, which planners generally are not. The building inspector was consulted as well. And as this is a change of occupancy and the rear wall is fairly close to another building, there is a building permit work that would have to be done for a change of occupancy. It wouldn't be a significant amount of work, but there would have to be some fire rating that would be done to a rear wall. I don't know if PAC has ever done a temporary use before, or if it's been some time. So this is just kind of a reminder that you do have the authority to make decisions on temporary uses. It's outlined in the zoning bylaw. PAC may subject to such terms and conditions as it considers fit. A, authorize for a temporary period in accordance with the Community Planning Act, a development otherwise prohibited by this bylaw. So temporary uses are incredibly discretionary. It's entirely up to PAC how to treat these. I am providing recommended conditions that will be enforceable and will minimize the impact. But I think it's really up to PAC to determine if the temporary use is appropriate in this location. And one question that did come up, both from myself and from people in the polling area, is why this particular location? And there's, as I said, this isn't a municipal responsibility to support businesses recycling. And so the applicant did discuss this with the municipality, and they didn't really have I don't know if Mr. Knopper would want to speak to that if there are questions on that, but in terms of the municipality getting involved, providing land, anything like that, it's not something, from my understanding, the municipality is interested in doing. So it becomes really a private matter to be dealt with by a private business owner on private property. Another reason is that it's relatively close to the downtown, but not in the downtown, where there are lots of issues with loading. So it's a little bit out of the way, but not so far out of the way that it would be, prohibitive to businesses. I guess like driving all the way to St. Stephen or St. George's at this point. So it's really up to PAC whether to approve. Conditions are there to minimize the impact and are things that, in my opinion, could be enforced. There are certain things that would be incredibly difficult to enforce, like limiting certain noise levels. There are ways to deal with that thing, but if those things come up, we can discuss it. So here are the conditions that I would recommend if you approve it. So before operation begins, signage clearly stating where cardboard is to be deposited is placed on the site to the satisfaction of the development officer and in conformity with the Town of St. Andrews zoning bylaw. Before operation begins, a building permit is obtained for a change of use and the required work is completed to the satisfaction of the building inspector. Any signs advertising the use visible from the street have a sign area not exceeding 5.4 square feet. That would be the requirement for home-based businesses in the zoning bylaw. That the baler is operated between the hours of 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday to Friday, no other times. That no cardboard materials or other refuse is to be stored, left, or allowed to remain outside of any building. And that if any of the terms and conditions imposed by the PAC on the temporary use are not complied with, the temporary authorization shall be canceled upon written notice by the development officer, and the use shall immediately cease, and the applicant shall restore the land, buildings, or structures to its condition immediately before the undertaking of the development. So that's the end of my presentation. I was in communication with the applicant around being present tonight, and he told me he was not able to be here. I don't know if that's changed, but that is my understanding at this point.
Thanks very much, Mr. Gopin. So with the applicant not available for comments, at this time, we will turn it over to anyone within the polling area to make public presentations. There just seems to be a lot.
Madam Chair, you usually go through your PAC questions to the planners, then we go to the applicant, then we go to the public. You're welcome. I keep you in line.
I just want to do this. I'm obviously not into it tonight. Sorry. Apologies. You guys don't have anything to say about this, do you? Who would like to go first for the planner? Kevin, please take us away.
Xander, you said you had information regarding the noise and et cetera.
Yeah.
If he asked you, so
Yeah.
here we go.
All right. So this is what was sent to me by the applicant. Cardboard compactors and balers typically have noise levels ranging from 57 to 80 decibels. Some models may be quieter with noise levels below 70 decibels, while others may be closer to 80 decibels. The noise level is influenced by factors like size, power, and operating mechanism. It is recommended that if you're standing next to it and using it, that you do wear hearing protection. And I did find from this is from the federal government, the Canadian Center for Occupational Health and Safety, If you want some references, so this apparently is between 50 to 80 decibels. A quiet room is around 40 decibels. Conversations around 60 decibels. Vacuum cleaner is around 70 decibels. Garbage disposal at 3 feet is around 80 decibels. Diesel truck at 40 miles per hour, 85. Power lawnmower kind of at the source is around 100. And your rock and roll band concert would be at 110. So anybody who was at Paddle Fest over the weekend, hopefully you're wearing your ear protection, because the other thing that the occupational health and safety says that once you get over 80, that's when hearing damage can set in. Under 80, it's apparently at any amount of time, it's okay. But it could still potentially be a nuisance.
Sorry, another question. Hey, so Xander, in the application, and I know we could look, but it's easier to ask you. We talked about fire rating the back wall. That's the back wall between the house
Yep.
and the property. Was
Yep.
there any talk about even adding some sound buffer insulation going to the back side of the property? We can't hear you.
He's thinking. Oh.
No, he's talking.
Oh.
We can't hear you, Xander.
He can't hear us, obviously.
Xander?
How about now?
There we go. Thank you.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes,
Now,
we can
yeah.
hear you. Can you hear us?
He can't hear us.
Am I coming through?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So what I was saying was there's probably minimal noise dampening that happens with the fire rated drywall. There is insulation with levels, I believe it's called sound transmission class, SCT, STC, something like that. And that there are standards for that and how it limits sound. So that's kind of an easy thing that we could say that has to be installed. So that would provide some level of noise dampening. At this point, I wouldn't be able to tell you a whole lot about, you know, what levels would be appropriate, anything like that. But that is a possible condition.
You're done. Thank you. Anyone else from the committee for Mr. Gopin? Ms. Mercer, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Probably a bit of a procedural question. I'm just wondering, with the conditions that are included in the recommendation, has the applicant seen those and confirmed that even with those conditions, this is viable and desirable?
Yeah, I discussed these conditions with the applicant, and in his application, he suggested hours of operation.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else from the committee? Yes, Councillor Harland.
So Xander, you said that if any of the conditions were broken, then there could be termination of the temporary use, correct? But that if we as a municipality are receiving concerns by the public around particularly the noise, because it clearly says that there won't be any refuse stored or allowed to remain around the building. So I'm confident that Mr. Berlenger will keep the area tidy, but the sound is still a bit blurry in my mind, given that these are our best guess estimates. So
Yeah.
if we have a lot of concerns as a municipality around the sound, are we then able to terminate the temporary use?
So it's a bit complicated just because of the way that enforcement and these kinds of things work. So it's having conditions around the sound itself and saying, if sound is considered to be a nuisance, that is a bit subjective. And so it creates a very difficult enforcement environment And so this is why I'm sort of saying either go with the some level of insulation that will dampen the sound. And maybe you need more information on what that would be. Or if based on what you have heard, you think noise is a potential issue, rather than get into a complicated enforcement situation, I think it would make more sense just to not allow the use, to be honest.
Madam Chair, sorry, I need to provide clarification here. So
Yes.
the town has a noise bylaw,
Mhm.
and between 7 a.m. and 9 p.m., lawnmowers, chainsaws, basically anything can
Blowers.
operate in
Mhm.
in the town limits. So what is being presented here between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. would be, there is no noise bylaw limit on that. So just for clarification, any complaints that would come in as noise complaints, we would also have to look at from the noise bylaw as well as what the temporary use is and determine really, is it beyond the terms and conditions set by PAC? And if it is, that's more of where we can react. But based on where the bylaw is written now, if somebody wanted to have a weed whacker or a leaf blower going for 8 hours a day at the beside the properties, there's nothing that we can really do to stop that. So just for clarification.
No, that's a very good point. Thank you. Thanks. Go ahead, Kevin.
Xander, I got one more question. Sorry, always do.
Mhm.
Do you have any idea the duration of how long the compactor runs for? Was there any idea? Is it 2 minutes and then it's done for 4 days, or is
That's basically, again, I'm not an expert in this. I haven't seen this particular model operate. And I didn't want to include any of this information in a report, anything kind of as a statement of fact. If you go on YouTube and you watch some videos of how these things operate, it's about a minute to 2 minutes. But again, without the specific model, anything like that, I wouldn't say that with any 100% certainty.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, Vice Chair.
So this is going to be for all businesses within St. Andrews. They can drop off their cardboard at any given time, day, night, and he's going to look after it. Is that correct?
That is what the applicant is proposing.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Ingles, over to
So-
you.
Sorry, Xander, the issue I have right now, I don't feel that this is quite the right location for this use. We just talked about dropping off, and if I recall, you said that they would only run the baler once they had enough cardboard in the shed, correct?
Yeah.
So that way, somebody could be, that cardboard could be sitting around, it could be covered with food debris, it could be covered with, because I'm assuming it's like somebody has a box of lettuce, they get the lettuce out, there's still a leaf of lettuce sticking around, there's going to be food debris around there. It's going to be, to me, this is, you would find something like this in an industrial park. You're not going to find it in a residential neighborhood, in somebody's backyard. So it feels to me like a slippery slope that all of a sudden then somebody's going to come in and say, yeah, I want to do X in my garage. And we've already done it at this place, so let's do it here. So I just kind of feel it's going to, there's a lot of, I like the fact that it's a temporary use by law. I think that, like you said, it's a great tool that we can try something out and we can put measures there to shut it down. But my concern as well is a lot of times you put in a temporary use and it stays. A lot of times when there's that 1 year or something, it goes on. And I just think this, to me, in this location, it's not the right location for this use. So I would have to say no to this because I just feel like it's not the right use at all, or the right location for this use. Because I think there's a lot of unknowns that we have right now. Even this whole thing, it's a 208 volt. What does that mean to me? It means nothing to me. So there's a lot of unknowns that I don't feel comfortable with at all.
So one thing I did discuss with the applicant, I said to me, I could sort of see this being at the town public works yard, something like that. But it becomes very complicated at that point because the town is then getting directly involved. So, um, it's this is a private person trying to deal with this privately, and I think your points are very valid.
And
So
I applaud him for bringing something up like this, but I would also then say it's all the municipality. They need to look after it. They want to have a community that's green, that's progressive. Then step up to the plate and do that. Find a place in town that we can do this and that they will look after it instead of putting it on to the citizens. So I don't fault Mr. Berlenger whatsoever. I just don't think it's the right place for this use.
Did you have something to add, Paul?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. For clarification, the town contracts out our recycling so first of all, recycling is actually operated by Circular Materials, which is a government-run organization. We have no say in how that's operated. As it comes to garbage collection, our garbage collection is based on a garbage contract with another hauler. The most garbage we pick up is the garbage that we take from garbage bags that are from the public use. It has never been a practice that the town deals with the recycling or the garbage beyond that because it has been, there's centralized haulers, there's a centralized landfill. And we've even had studies, and council is aware of this, of looking at organic waste and how do we deal with that at different levels. And basically anything of a larger scale or larger volume has to be looked at from a regional service commission level. So from a town standpoint, I don't see, as a municipality, I can't speak for council beyond what I know, but at this point, they're not looking to have these they're not offering these options, so that's why this is being presented.
Come to you next, Ms. Mercer. Go ahead, Mr. Soldier.
I was just looking through the information that the applicant provided, and it mentions that they would be seeking a grant to operate this project from the Chamber of Commerce and the BIA. In your conversations with the applicant, did they indicate that if they were unable to secure any type of grant funding, that they would abandon this project?
That never came up directly. To my knowledge, they're like, I haven't seen anything from the chamber or the BIA directly saying we are providing funding. I've just seen the request from the applicant.
Okay. And another question, in your conversations regarding conditions placed upon this application, was there any discussion around pest control measures?
Pest control did not come up.
Okay. Thank you. That's all.
Ms. Mercer first, and back to you, Councillor Harland.
Thank you, Chair. Just wondering whether, I guess I've seen temporary use permits that are trying out a concept, like a business concept for viability, which this seems to be doing. And I've seen others that are trying out a concept in a specific location, which, if successful, would assume it would continue at that location. I'm just wondering if it's been clear in discussions with the applicant if the long-term goal, if successful, is that this facility continue in this location, or is it simply low-hanging fruit to try it here and consider it elsewhere if successful?
I think the applicant, so the way the temporary use process works is, if approved, you get up to a year. And at that point, a rezoning would have to be applied for, or some kind of amendment to the zoning bylaw to continue at this location. So I think if it's successful in that sense, there probably would be that application. That would open up a public process. It would be a council decision at that point. Now, that's not to say the applicant might say, you know what, I have other properties that maybe this could also work at, and I'll move it there. I'm not really sure, but I do think it's reasonable to expect, if this does go for a year and it's successful, then then there would be a further application for the property.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Harland.
Thank you. Just to follow up on what Ms. Mercero was saying, and what you had indicated, Xander, is that the applicant, Mr. Berlenger, is unclear in terms of the uptake.
Yes.
And I missed the piece around the grant. So thank you for bringing that forward. So we don't know if there has been an agreement or a discussion with the chamber or the BIA. And my concern is we're potentially granting approval to something that hasn't been tested or does not appear to have been tested in terms of polling the BIA and or the chamber to see if there would be uptake for this kind of an initiative. Was there any discussion with Mr. Berlenger around that?
Madam
I
Chair.
mean, it came up and he said, I really have no idea how popular this will be. I don't think he had done any polling. So it's a little too bad he isn't here tonight, and he apologizes. And he would understand, I think, if you want to table this so he can be there to answer these questions. I really just this is the best of my knowledge on the subject.
Mr. Knopper.
I can clarify he has been in talks with the BIA and the chamber regarding the potential of this, and that's why. And he's also spoken to council about this within a support mechanism. The direction he was given was you have to go through the PAC process. PAC has to approve it. But from my understanding is if PAC approves this, the chamber and the BIA will support the project as a temporary use at this point in time. That's why the file is before you.
Supported like financially or?
Financially, and to get it through the businesses, to say that that's available. This is a service that's available. So it's basically putting it out to the chamber members and BIA members that they would be listed. But I know for sure he's been talking with the chamber executives and the BIA executives.
Safe to say. Thank you. Anything more, Councillor Harlan?
No, not at this time. Thanks.
Thank you. Once more around the table, if anyone wants to offer some comments before I move to public presentations? No? All right, so I do recognize that there are quite a few people here today. I'm not sure if you're all here to speak to this file, but I just to let you know that we're going to limit the presentations to 5 minutes so that everyone has a chance to speak. So if anyone from within the polling area of 126 Reed wanted to speak to this file, now is your chance. No? Oh, come on up to the microphone, please, and identify yourself if you wouldn't mind.
I could talk in the back row.
No, sorry.
I have Murray Hoyt, 160 Reed Avenue. I've got a fair amount of experience over the years with both landfills and waste paper, recycling paper. My biggest concern with this whole deal is what you addressed, and that's cardboard laying around, dirty cardboard, attracting rodents, but really the housekeeping. If he's going to have people coming in 24 hours a day to drop off waste, supposedly put it in, it's a windy day, something's going to blow away, it's going to be a problem for the neighborhood. To me, it's probably the bigger problem than the noise. The noise will be intermittent, just whenever he runs it, and that depends on how much volume he's got. It's just really the wrong place for this kind of an operation. Town yard would be perfect, especially if the hauler is providing the compactors. The town doesn't have any investment. But in a neighborhood like ours or anybody's, a recycling operation isn't the right deal. And it's temporary. It's for 1 year. At the end of the year, he's not going to move it anywhere else because he doesn't have a better spot. This is his best spot, or he wouldn't be picking it. So you either have to shut him down or something's going to have to happen. So to me, it's going to be a headache for the town. People are going to complain about scrap blowing around. They're going to complain about noise. I don't think there's gonna be a lot of traffic, but that's just my 2 cents.
Thank you, Mr. Hoyt. Anyone else from within the polling area care to make a presentation? No, we would move to outside the poll. Well, never fear, because outside the polling area of 126 Reed Ave now has an opportunity to make a presentation. Again, 5 minutes if you wanted to approach the podium. Okay.
So, sir, if you have a comment on this cardboard compactor, you can come to the floor now and you can speak to it.
Speak from here, if that's all right.
We need you to either come to the mic or I can have you sit here because we need this as it's recorded. And if you want, you can even take that chair right there as well. Your choice.
Well, I agree with some of the comments I've heard about this
Sorry, sir,
property.
can we get your name and address?
Pardon me?
Can we get your name and address, please?
Yeah, Larry Lack, 17 Par.
Thank you.
I agree with some of the comments or questions that I've heard, and I have similar questions, but I think it's really important to specify the condition that the cardboard is going to be accepted in. To just say cardboard seems to me to be opening a very broad door, and cardboard can be in very there's quite a bit of variety of conditions that cardboard that's recycled, for example, can be in, and it can be something that attracts rodents or other vermin. And yeah, I agree that it shouldn't be within the within the town plot. It should. I like whatever the gentleman said about having this be at the industrial park. And I wonder whether it makes sense to have one kind of recycling here and other kinds of things that are picked up or distributed, or rather picked up for recycling. Why have recycling at several different locations? That raises a number of questions, including additional traffic and some of the other things that would affect this, even though it's not directly in town. So those are my concerns.
Thanks,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Lack. Thank you, Mr. Lack. Appreciate that. Anyone else from outside the polling area, 126 Reed Avenue? Going once, going twice. All right, so now it comes back to the committee for a motion and discussion. Okay.
I guess I'd like to make a motion to amend the suggested conditions on this project.
Okay, so we'll get the motion and then we'll call for the amendment. How does that sound? Get
Sure.
whatever motion you want to make, and then the terms and conditions actually become part of the final motion.
Sure.
So let's talk about that part of the motion first, and
Yep.
then, if that's okay.
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
great.
Yeah. What you need to do is you need to read the motion that you would like. So what you need to do is read the motion that's before you, if that's what you want, that's on there, and say, I move. You will need a seconder at that point,
Yeah.
and then it's open for amending
And
motions.
then we
Yeah,
would get it amended.
absolutely.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So I move to amend the recommended conditions on this application to include appropriate industrial pest control measures to be in place during the operational period of 1 year.
All right, so I'm just going to ask some clarifying questions
Yes,
on the
thank
motion.
you.
So your motion then is that the PAC approves the application with the attached conditions. And then we'll get that one seconded, and then we'll add your amendment for the industrial pest control.
Yes.
That
Thank
sound
you.
fair?
Yeah.
All right, so we have a motion on the table then. And if there is a seconder, we'll move from there. Thank you very much, Mr. Kerr. All right, and so at this stage, you could make your motion for your amendment.
Okay. So I would move then a motion to amend the recommended conditions attached to this application to include appropriate industrial pest control measures.
Thank you very much. And do we have a seconder for that amendment? I gotta go with Mr. Kerr, sorry. All right, perfect.
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion, a seconded motion and an amended. So now we can move to discussion by the committee on that motion.
So I can say anything.
You can say anything, Kevin.
Sorry. Yeah, whatever. I'm gonna make sure.
Would it matter?
Like, I actually had the pest control thing written down as
Yes,
well,
it's
because
a
I
good
think it's a
one.
great
It's
idea.
a good one. Yeah.
One of the other things that I would like to even see is that if he's only gonna operate 10 to 4, maybe that's the only time that people can drop cardboard off as well. So we don't have vehicles going in at midnight or 1 or 2 in the morning, that we keep drop off times to reasonable hours. I know it's all gonna go inside the barn. That's a great idea. That keeps it clean. I know from a business point of view, I probably dump at least 2 truckloads of cardboard in my dumpster a week, maybe 3. It's a lot for businesses. I mean, we get 7 deliveries a week, so there's a lot of cardboard downtown.
Imagine a hotel. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the options we have right at the moment. I know I'll use it. Yeah, so I mean, and on the other hat is that I'm also vice president of the BIA. So it's been brought up to our board. I don't think we've officially chatted about it, but it's been brought to us in a general discussion. We think it's a good idea. We haven't offered support in any way of the letter, but it has been brought up to the BIA as well.
And circling back to your comment about the drop-off times, how would you suggest enforcement of that condition? Like if we.
No idea. I
if we-
guess it's suggested. I
If
mean,
we
it's.
apply a condition, it should be something.
Yeah, and I mean, it was
measurable and-
more of a less a suggestion. I mean, I didn't want to offer an amendment to it, but it's really,
But
yeah. I mean, generally, most business owners downtown are at their businesses in the daytime. If this is meant for business owners, I'm sure there'll be even some people, once they hear about it, will take some of their cardboard up, because 1 blue bin for some households is not enough. Right? And then even our business, I mean, we have 2 apartments over it, and I think we only have 1 blue bin, which is sometimes not enough. So I take some home to my blue bin, and Heather takes some home to her blue bin, and just to try to keep up with some other stuff. So, it's not just recycling of cardboard. Like we have cans and stuff like that as well that we are moving around. So I don't know how you'd ever enforce it. I mean, it's a good suggestion just to, if you can put hours of operation or drop off even on the front of the building, and hopefully most people will pay attention. I
Well,
mean,
yeah.
if you don't have it lit right up at night, most people aren't going to want to probably go in there anyways, right?
That's a good
So,
point. Yeah. Anyone else? Yes, thank you, Councillor Harland.
I think it's very unfortunate that the applicant is not here, and I probably would have tabled this in order to be able to hear directly from the applicant. My concern is I very much support the addition of the pest control because I believe that will be a concern. But the bigger concern is what Mr. Ingalls and Mr. Murray spoke about, which is the debris that is going to naturally happen as a result of an initiative like this. And while I appreciate that and trust that Mr. Berlenger's intent would be to keep it tidied up, I remember what it was like behind the arena when we had the recycling bins. it was hard. I assume we as a municipality, Paul, were responsible for trying to keep that tidied up. And I am sure that that was an ongoing daily requirement, given how overflowing those became, particularly at peak times through the year. I have great concern about that in this very residential area. So for that reason, I would be unable to support this motion.
Thank you. Any more commentary? Questions? If not, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of approving the temporary use permit as applied for PID, oh, I put this away, I'm sorry, for PID 01323591 with the additional term and condition of the industrial pest control measures. All those in favor of that, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? 1, 2, 3. Let's have the, all those in favor again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And 3 against. So it's 4 for the approval and 3 against. So that motion is carried. Thank you very much. All right. Our next agenda item is, I'll just give a minute. All right, the next reference number PAC 250413. This is a variance application for PID 01319086 on Harriet Street. This is Legrod Holdings. This is a variance application. The applicant, excuse me, is requesting to create 2 lots with variances in the proposed dimensions on the reference lot. And we did hear this file last month. We tabled it for some further clarification on the dimensions. And at this time, we will turn it over to Ms. Hartford to take us through her planning report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one moment and I'll share my screen. Okay, as you said, this is a Legrod Holdings Incorporated Variance and Subdivision Application, PID 0139086, and the applicant requests to create 2 lots with variances in the proposed dimensions. This is a subdivision plan here. You'll see the development is on the corner of Harriet and Montague. There's lot 1 and lot 2. Lot 1 has a dimension of 679 meters square and lot 2, 660 meters square. So as you said, this application was heard by PAC in April, and it was tabled for clarity in the variances requested as there was a discrepancy between the mail out and the report. The subject lot is a vacant quarter lot and has an area of 1,379 meters square, a width of 51.12 meters, and a depth of 26.5 meters, and that would be on the flankage yard, so Montague, and 25.1 meters on the interior sideline. The surrounding area has a mix of uses, including commercial, residential, and institutional. So behind this development, there would be the 8-unit multiple residential. There is the gas bar that's across the street. There is some green space on the other side on Harriet. And there's also a cemetery that's right behind that multiple residential building. So permitted main uses within the SR zone are single and 2-family dwellings, triplexes and seasonal dwellings, and secondary uses of an ADU. In the SR zone and town plat, semi-detached aren't permitted, but duplexes are permitted in the SR zone. So the purpose of the proposed lot is to develop a duplex on each lot, and it is an allowed use in the SR zone, and there'll be a total of 4 dwelling units. So on this lot right now, it can accommodate a triplex and an ADU, totaling of 4 dwelling units, and that would be with no public consultation. So it is allowed, triplexes are allowed uses, and ADUs would be a secondary use. So it could accommodate 4 dwelling units as it is now. Lot standards in the SR zone are a lot area of 744.2 meters square, lot frontage of 24.4, and a lot depth of 30.5 meters. The proposed lots do have the minimum width. The variances that are being requested are in the area and the depth of the lot. And the applicant did submit a site plan to show that the minimum setbacks for the lot coverage can be met for developing a 2-unit dwelling, and I'll show you that shortly. Notification was sent for this meeting for properties within a 100-meter radius. This is the property here, and you'll see it is in the service residential zone. The multiple residential is right behind it. And you'll see there is an institutional property, and across the road at the corner of Harriet and Montague would be the gas bar. And you see up here, there is some green space as well. So the comment had been made about the town plat being 8 blocks. As in the 1700s, it was blocked off in 8 blocks, but you can see even in this block here of Montague and Parr, the 8 lots are not maintained anymore. They've been subdivided to have more lots within them blocks. So you will see some blocks that will have 8 lots, but there'll be other blocks that will have more lots than the 8 as traditionally seen. This is a site plan that was provided, and you can see this is the outline of the building, and the setbacks are on plan. So it would be the dotted line showing that the building can meet the minimum setbacks for the SR zone. And this is a picture looking into the property. You'll see at the back here would be the multiple residential, the gas bar on the side here. And so the policies for this application under the municipal plan, council shall use the zoning bylaw to continue to limit developments to a certain number of buildings per lot within certain zones, set minimum sizes of lots, and set other conditions to maintain the character of town. And for housing policies, council shall provide a mix of housing types and densities through the establishment of sufficient number and range of residential zoning categories as defined in the zoning bylaw. And for statements of public interest, promote a range of housing options such as type, size, density, and design. Consider supporting the development of various types of residential housing reflective of anticipated economic, population, and demographic trends. And that is from the user guide. And also statement 5, promote and prioritize development in areas of communities with existing or planned public infrastructure and services. And this would be an infill project where infrastructure and services are easily available. The applicant provided 2 renderings with this application. So this would be the first rendering. You'll see it would be the darker color of the siding. And these are just renderings. The application isn't based by the renderings. It's about the lot sizes, but there has been 2 renderings that were provided. And this would be the second rendering. So the lighter blue color, as you can see, and in the report, I did have more pictures of those renderings. So PAC is asked to consider variance in area depth for the proposed lots. The minimum width is met for both proposed lots, and a duplex isn't allowed in use in the SR zone, and the definition is as follows. 2-family dwelling, synonymous with duplex or 2-unit dwelling, and means a building on one lot containing 2 dwelling units divided into separate dwelling units. Each can have its independent entrance, or it can be through a common vestibule. So these would both have an independent entrance into each dwelling unit. The secondary municipal plan for massing and scaling does not apply to this development. There was an amendment done, municipal plan 200203, and it did add a clause that any building that was in a 15-meter radius, it could not be greater than a total building height or the footprint of any pre-existing main building. In this case, there is no pre-existing building that is within 15 meters of that horizontal radius. So looking at the lot 1 does require a variance of 4 meters in depth and a variance of 65.2 meters square in area to create a lot with a depth of 26.5 meters and an area of 679 meters. Lot 2 requires a variance of 5.4 meters in depth and 84.2 meters square in area to create a lot with a depth of 25.1 meters and an area of 660 meters square. We're looking at the general intent of the bylaw. It is to regulate the minimum area of parcel of land to be developed and ensure setbacks and lot coverage standards are met to maintain the town character. So when we're looking at town character, we're talking about the setbacks and the lot coverage. Historically, the lot requirements in the SR zone, the town plat, were 24.4 meters for the frontage, 24.4 for the depth, and an area of 594.6 meters square. That was for the bylaw from 1979 to 1998. And so the undersized lots that we're looking at tonight would be over even those limits, because we're looking at a 660 and a 679 meter square, where historically those lots were 24 meters by 24. And so the variance now is based on that depth and the area, as they don't meet the depth and area, but they do meet the requirements for width. So the proposed creation of the undersized lot does meet the general intent of the bylaw, as the setbacks and lot coverage can be met. And therefore, it is the opinion of staff that the proposed variances are reasonable or desirable for the development of land and are within the general intent of the bylaw. Oh. Sorry. There we go. So staff recommends that the Planning Advisory Committee of the Town of St. Andrews, as per the Community Planning Act, approve the requested variances in depth and area to allow for the creation of lots. The variance is reasonable or desirable for the land development and is within the general intent of the bylaw. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hartford. Does anyone from the committee have any questions for the planner on this clarified information?
If I may go ahead,
You may.
Judy, thank you. I just have a question that if you could bring up the slide, I think it's maybe your second to the last slide, where you talked about how massing does not apply to this application, that it's not within 15 meters of et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, your third bullet down, SMP massing and scaling do not apply to this development. And could you explain that a little bit more? I'm missing that.
There was a amendment done to the secondary municipal plan, and there was a clause added. So before, you did have to meet the massing and scale, whether it was the average of the block within a certain percentage. But a clause D was added to say that if you're not within 15 meters of a horizontal radius of a building on another lot, then you don't need to meet you can't be greater than the total building height or the footprint. So in this case, because there is no building within 15 meters, it does not apply to the massing and scaling.
Okay. So if then that clause within that bylaw or that's in the secondary plan, you said. So that would mean a lot of buildings would not be subjected to massing and scaling if they're as lots are redeveloped. Is that what you're saying? Is this
That's
what
correct.
council put forward? So, my Lord. Okay, so in my mind, that should be completely looked at by staff and by council, and it should be done immediately. I mean, this is kind of foolish to put something in place that allows any development of any size, scale whatsoever. That's what we're saying here. Are we
Madam-
not?
If located outside of the 15 meter. So, or it's only within the 15. So if they're located outside of 15 meters, then it doesn't have to meet the standards of not being greater than the total building. So it can be bigger than a footprint if there is no main building within 15 meters. If you're in the town plat, you're going to find that there's not many buildings that would not be within 15 meters of like a property line. Or
But this isn't town plat, so is this just an anomaly?
there's no
Mhm.
there's no existing building that's within 15 meters of this property.
So when you say within 15 meters of the property line of
That's
the,
correct.
wow, I find that even
Yeah.
the farm, the old farm buildings to I guess it's to the east of this lot is not within 15 meters?
No.
Or the property on Parr and Harriet? There's a residence there.
That would be Donna Walsh's property on Parr Street.
Ms. Hartford, do you have a way that you can pull up a map and show a measurement from adjacent land owners?
Sure.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. There we go. See, that one's 37 to the property line.
Yes. And then what about from the burn structure that's on the property east of the proposed? So that's 17 meters.
One from this one. And then are you talking about this one here? Sorry.
No, the one to the east, what you first had on, clicked on the white roof. Yes, correct.
This one here. Yes.
So that's 14 meters to the property line. 19.
It says 19.
Okay.
This one says 19.
Guys got good eyes.
Turn around.
I'll get dizzy. Okay, so then it falls within that regulation that you pointed out in your report.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's correct.
And if it's sorry, and yeah, if you can just go back here again. The other thing I wanted to ask was the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The second to the last bullet, when you talk about the lot requirements for the 24.4 meter frontage and 24.4 meter depth.
Mhm.
And then you have in brackets 79 to 98. That was a bylaw that was then, or?
That's correct. It was the zoning bylaw in place from 79 to 98.
And so what zoning bylaw do we have? Is that the same zoning bylaw that we have in place now?
No, this is
Okay.
historically the lots from 97 or 79 to 98 were that size. I was just
Okay, so basically you're referencing an old bylaw that's no longer enacted. And we have a new bylaw that has different regs. So in my mind, this has nothing to do with our discussion at all. So it's I know what you're trying to say here, to say before we used to allow smaller lots, but that doesn't matter to what we're doing now. This is 25 plus years on from that bylaw. So I would kind of strike that from from the report altogether, because it's kind of misleading. Right now I'm living in the present. I don't care it's not so much I don't care, but we do have different rules and regs now, and different planning procedures, different zoning procedures. And it's through consultation, it's through historical fact, it's through better land practices. So I'm not sure where we came up with the number of 30 meters that we have now, but that's 30 meters is what we have for the depth, I believe. And that's what they're seeking variances from. Okay, I'm done.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Questions for the planner? And the clarifying information.
I just want to be clear. So anybody could build a structure on this property and it could be any height? Is that correct? Is that what I picked up here?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
No, that there is still height requirements under the SR zone. It's just talking about this secondary municipal plan. The secondary municipal plan would say that if a building was in 15 meters, then it could not be greater than the total building height or footprint on any pre-existing main building. So that is only talking about the secondary municipal plan. The building itself still has to meet all the requirements of the SR zone when we're talking about minimum setbacks, coverage, height, landscaping, all of it. It still has to meet the bylaw. I was just talking about the secondary municipal plan, how it does not apply to this development. So yes, there still is height requirements. This building couldn't be built at any height. It does need to still maintain the requirements of the bylaw.
Okay, okay. No, thanks for
And all of
clarifying
those
that.
get covered off in the permitting process. Yes.
Just to clarify that, because I think that clause in that about the massing and scaling is to make sure that the transitions between existing adjacent properties, the scaling is, or the transitions between them is appropriate. So you're not going from a 4-story building to a 1-story building, something like that. So it's of that nature. But I think 15 meters is, it
is what it is.
Yep.
All right. Anyone else? If not, we'll go to the public presentations. Applicant. Is the applicant
Mr. Legassi?
present today?
I am today.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Rodney Legassi. Thanks for taking the time to listen to this again. I appreciate it. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to give a presentation or I was waiting for.
You can offer anything you think is appropriate or helpful to us.
Okay. Well, I think we talked about it last time I was online. We've done development up on Princess Royal that we're really proud of, and we take pride in what we do. Not doing this just for money. I do take pride in what I do. And there's a couple of gentlemen here that worked on the development with us. Rob Roy, I don't think I have to tell you who he is, a master builder. He worked with us on the development, and Harbor Town Builders. They're not here just for my purposes, but I thought I'd mention them anyways. I can tell you the structure will be of good character to the town. We feel that we changed the renderings. We made it a little bit more traditional. I know the first one was black and white, modern, and maybe didn't come off the right way on a piece of paper. I did bring some samples of the wood product that we use, the Maybach siding. I don't really want to get too much into the design because I think last time we got away from what we're really asking for, which is a small variance. And if you want to, I can pass it along. And, I don't know if that's something that's standard in this kind of a meeting. But I do have those samples if you'd like to see what we're doing.
Oh, yeah. We normally don't
No.
take stuff
Okay.
like that right
Sure.
at the meetings, but I think we understand, and all of that stuff would be covered off in the permitting process, and that's not something that we, in the building process anyway, we don't get involved in the
Okay.
permitting stuff, but
No problem.
like if we're deciding on land use, then
Mhm.
we want to try and steer away from design as much as possible.
Okay.
So,
No, understood.
but
And-
I remember that there were some concerns from the neighbors and that you were going to talk to them and stuff. So if you wanted to offer anything.
Well, I want to say, first of all, I understand being, adjacent property owners. I think I would feel the same way and I'd have some concerns. But just coming here to let you know that I'm not just a developer from St. John. I do live here and I do take pride in this town, and we've become, members of the town. We want to grow. And the reality is there's no land left in the plat. So what we're trying to do is bring more people. We've had a lot of demand up on Princess Royal, and these are going to be units that are $700,000. We're not doing a cheap build. It's just not the demographic that we're going after. And as far as traffic, I did want to touch on that. There is a lot of traffic, but with what the town's done, with the signage, the new signage, the one-way direction on Water Street, I think it'll be a natural flow for the 4 months of the tourist season that we have, that'll probably not really be a problem with 4 units. And I'm trying to think of what other comments were out there. I was hoping maybe that would come first, but again, in closing, we've done a lot of work on this, and we've gone back and forth, and I just want people to realize that it's easy to criticize someone's design, but there's a lot of work and resources that go into just getting to this stage. So that's all I can say in closing. If you have any other questions.
Anyone else from the committee have any questions for the applicant? No?
Yes.
Oh, there you are. Yes.
Was there any thought about changing the orientation off of having one of them flipped in addressing Montague, and instead of having both of them?
That was one of the
addressing
questions I
Harriet?
wanted to. So I don't want to sound sarcastic on this, but if I were a buyer, would I want to look at a gas station? No. So I think there's an argument to be had on the corner. I think most of the homes on Harriet, they are facing the roadway. And that's why we felt is the best frontage, and we can actually make it work this way. The lot is long, but it's not very wide. So it's the only way that can work. If we had it adjacent, the two backyards would be completely looking onto each other. So we just feel, aesthetically, this is the right way to do it. And I really don't think it's sellable to be looking at a gas station. That's my.
But in the other way to look at it as well, though, is that along Harriet, it's a huge amount of asphalt you're looking at. You're looking at 4 identical garages with asphalt all the way along the street.
Right.
And so as a streetscape, it's not the most pleasant. It's more of you start getting to be more of a subdivision aesthetic, and not historical town plat aesthetic. So that's a little bit of a concern, in the repetition of the built form. I know that, yes, economics are driving to a certain point, and I understand that. Nothing is cheap nowadays, and nothing is cheap in our town. So it's hard. My concern is just having 4 exact units side by side, and you don't really see that in town with especially in the historical town plat. And as you probably heard at the last council meeting we had, we've gone through this exercise of protecting the historical town plat and making sure that we respect what we have, and that going forward we enhance that, because that's a huge driving force in our town. And I'm not sure whether, in my mind, whether a development of this meets that. Not to say it's not a good development, not to say the design has not been vetted and it's successful, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not saying that. I just think that the massing and the lotting of this is not appropriate for the town plat.
I completely disagree, but of course I will. We've got 42 units outside the plat. When we say the plat, and we're still talking about St. Andrews, we've got the Bar Road. When you take this quality of build, it completely surpasses what is being done right now. And I'm not discrediting what they've done, but this is a completely different build. And we've changed that design based on trying to be historically correct. And I think we'll do that.
With that said, then I would say, to be more historically correct, you need to build into your second floor this roof line right now. And I know we can't talk about design, so I won't talk about design, but I mean, more can be built into that roof line. And I know, and once again,
I'm okay.
It's what people want, what people don't want, et cetera, but to be more historical
Right.
within the town. Most second floors are built into the roof line. So you have dormers, you have dish pan. You don't have full second story,
Mhm.
and then the roof on top.
Mhm.
There are 2 stories, 2.5 stories, but anyhow,
We could make changes to that.
but
Again, I'm open but
And-
we're talking about something else.
yep, yeah, and
So-
and I know we can't talk about it, so I'm gonna stop because I'll get in trouble.
That we really are here just to talk about the subdividing of the lots and the variances that are required to do those. So just as a reminder, anyone else for the applicant tonight? No, if not. All
Thanks
right.
again.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'll turn it over to the polling area at this time. Again, we did hear this application last month, so just in order to keep everything kind of streamlined, any new information, any new comments above what was presented last month would be appropriate at this time. So anyone in the polling area would like to take 5 minutes and present, you're welcome at the podium. Anyone?
Hi, I'm Leanne Ward and I live at 17 Parr, and I think of this particular block as being very heavily trafficked, and to see 4 more units placed into what could be a nice plot for a house, to have 4 units and all the traffic associated with that is troubling to me, and I would be happy to see one home there with one family, but I just don't like the idea of bringing 4 families into that small area, and I think that it could set a precedent. I don't want to just see all of the lots in town trying to squeeze in all these units of housing that really, I think, takes away from the traditional historical town that we have. And I think that the town needs to maintain the look that it has, and I don't like to see this kind of thing creating a precedent that would bring too much building and development within the historic plot. That's all I wanted to say.
Thanks, Ms. Ward. Anyone else from within the polling area that has new commentary, new information?
Just something that I went, it's David Bizzo, 11 Parr Street. I walked the area, the lot. I found it, their surveyor has shot closer to the dairy for some reason. It's not a direct, each lot from 1874, or the original surveyor that I had sent to the city, and I think you may all have it, is that the town plat is 8 similar units of land within each block, and it's 80 by 160. So when you look at this old surveying map, it's quite amazing that it's exactly, each one is exactly the same. But what happens is when we surveyed our property when we bought our place in 2011, and they went to every neighbor. They went to Larry and Leanne, they went to Donna Walsh, they talked to them, and they surveyed to make sure it was proper. But what happens is nobody came to my place. Nobody came to their place, the surveyors. And then I went behind our house and I looked at all the markings, and it goes like this, like there's a bow like going toward the dairy. So they chopped a couple trees down on that side. Maybe they were the surveying marking next to our survey sign marker. It's fine, but and it goes across straight behind Donna Walsh's. But when it goes down by the dairy, it kind of like meanders a little bit. And I was just curious about that. So, you know, I kind of see, I don't know, but you know what? When they build something like this, 2 big units, and they're going to be big, four families, like build one if you want to get away with trying to get an ADU in there, do it. But I mean, it's kind of ludicrous if you really ask. He's a developer. I mean, developers want more, and it doesn't matter how good they make it, because I don't know. It's just I can see it already. I can see the brashness of it, and I can see the confusion. You wait. I mean, if you actually let this go ahead, you're going to have a problem. We're going to have a problem. And that's coming into town. Everybody drives down Harriet Street. A lot of people drive down Parr Street, but I mean, yeah, it's just, you know, everybody wants more, right?
Mhm.
That's all they want. They don't care about the town. I mean, really. So that's basically what I've got to say. And the precedents. So I was thinking, I said to my wife, I'm going to build a house in the back of my yard. I already got a studio that's 1,900 square feet and a garage, and I got a little house. But now I'm thinking about these guys, and I'm going, oh, maybe I'll build an ADU and I'll come talking to you guys,
Mhm.
right?
Yes, you would.
And
Yeah.
then I'd never do it in a million years. I was lucky to get the studio and the garage,
Mhm.
right? But you can't see how the size, because I wanted nobody to understand. Nobody can see it from the street. It hides itself. So, but I mean, you know, like something like this, somebody has to protect this place, because everybody's going to do it after these guys do it. And it's like Leanne said, precedents. Just think about it. Little Johnny down the street. And in January 5th, 2022, it was 66 Water Street. 66 Water Street, the PAC denied an ADU to a little house there. It might have been an undersized lot, but I don't think so. They didn't even let them build this little house or an ADU or whatever they want to call it. You know, so that was denied in 2022, January 5th, to the new owner of that home. That was so. Anyway, I'm sorry I took your time up. Just
No, you're
wanted to,
welcome to
you know,
comment at
throw
any
it out
time.
there. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. It's a little out of order.
Okay. And I don't want to be negative.
No, no.
I want to let them know that I do care. And it's not just, I think we're trying to grow. There are people that are actually wanting to get into this community. I think they're looking at the other end. They're being selfish where they're not allowing other people to come in and buy units.
Yeah,
And that's my honest thought of it.
yeah.
And I do care. I really take heart to that. That makes me very upset that you would say that I don't care. I do care a lot. And that's from my heart. So.
Thanks for that. We appreciate that. Thank you. All right. So if that's any other public presentations, going once, going twice? No, if not, it's back to the committee for a motion and discussion. Councillor Harlan, yes?
Can I just clarify a
Yes.
point before we go to a motion?
Yeah.
In terms of the issue of precedent, can we clarify how that works?
Yep.
Because
So through you, Madam Chair,
Yes.
PAC is to look at each file individually for the merits that the file is being presented. Precedence is not what you're looking at. You have to think of nothing else but the file in front of you and what is being presented to you. So please note that PAC, although there's thoughts of precedence, each file is individual, each file is unique, each file has to be thought of in its own right. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Oh, certainly. Yes. Okay. Does anyone care to try a motion? Yes, Ms. Marsro?
I will attempt to move the motion reflected in the staff recommendation. Should I read it
Yes,
in its
please.
entirety?
You would?
Okay. That the Planning Advisory Committee for the Town of St. Andrews approves the following variances for PID 013190086 Harriet Street, Legrod Holdings, Inc., with the proposed 1, Lot 1, depth 26.5 meters, an area of 679 meters squared, with a variance in depth of 4 meters, equivalent to 13.1%, and variance in area of 65.2 meters squared, equivalent to 8.8%. 2, Lot 2, depth 25.1 meters, an area of 660 meters squared, with a variance in depth of 5.4 meters, equivalent to 17%, and variance in area of 84.2 meters squared, equivalent to 11.3%. The variances requested are reasonable or desirable for land development and is within the general intent of the zoning bylaw.
Thank you for that motion. Is there a seconder for that? Oh. Thank you very much, Mr. Kerr. I'm going, yeah, okay. So, Mr. Tanner, we have a motion on the table that's been seconded, reflective of the final report, just to catch you up. And now it's over to us for discussion before we call the question. Yes.
Thank you. Just hoping to motivate on the motion. I would say the main reason I'm putting the motion forward is mostly that I feel very strongly that we stick to our lane in terms of the parameters of the decisions we make. And I think that that's a requirement of us for good governance and to help manage the community's risk. On this matter, we have fairly narrow parameters for the decision as I interpret them regarding the reasonableness of the variances. I sympathize and in fact agree with a lot of the concerns from members of the public and colleagues around the table about this application, many of which are design related. But I feel it's important for us to recognize when those things have to be put aside. And the matter in question is really what we consider on its merits. In addition to sort of respecting the professional advice of staff in terms of their assessment of the reasonableness of these variances, I come to the same conclusion. And that's largely because the zoning parameters we're looking at are really the variances are not zoning parameters that have a lot of externalities for other people. So the application does not require variances for setbacks, for example, which are a measure that really determines the impact on surrounding properties. So that's one thing I consider. The other thing I consider is that it meets the requirement in terms of lot coverage, the limit that we have, and that's important for stormwater management for the community broadly. So those are sort of the questions in my mind in assessing this application. I have lots of other opinions on other aspects of the application. And I think perhaps for what it's worth, committee members, I think there are some merits in those realms as well, in terms of thinking about how subdivisions and smaller lots are one of the measures required to increase housing supply and increase housing diversity. Having different typologies of missing middle housing, as it were, is an important way to achieve that as well. And so while those are outside of our decision, I think that knowing that the town has policies that are moving us in the direction of those things helps me feel more confident in supporting this.
Thanks very much for your comments. Anyone else? Sorry. Do you have something?
I do apologize. I did leave, but
That's okay.
so I did miss the motion, but I guess it's to be supported or approved.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
I would just like to add my thoughts on it. Anytime you listen to the radio, we're in a housing crisis. We need more housing. And I know change is difficult. And, people are probably used to looking out in that open lot or that vacant lot and seeing it as a vacant lot. But I think we have a talented builder, contractor with a proven record. And I think it's going to add to the community, this project. So personally, I would rather be on a committee or part of a community that puts people first and brings families into town instead of being worried about property values and fear mongering and other things. So I too would be fully supporting or in the supportive position on this project. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Anyone else moving around the table? Yes, Mr. Sawyer.
I guess I just wanted to add the comment that I think in this lot's current state, it can still accommodate the same number of units were this motion to be approved as well. So the comments or the sentiment about preventing families or certain number of people from coming to town were we to deny this motion, I think might be a little moot in this case, because whether the variance is approved or not, this lot can still accommodate 4 units in its current state. That's all. Thank you.
Thanks for that. Anyone else? If not,
No,
okay.
I'll go ahead. I mean, my view on this development has not really changed from I've heard more from the builder, which was great, and residents in town. And I appreciate that we're having this debate, because I think it's a really good, healthy debate, and we're not all going to agree on something. And although it would be nice if we did, but I think it's good to have a debate. My concern is, and where I'm coming from, is more of the I feel the overuse of this land. I worked in a municipality before that if anybody came in to subdivide a property and they had to ask for a variance, it was denied. That means that lot is undersized. And I mean, I like the points that you made, that the variances they're asking for, they're not asking for setback, they're not asking for more critical things, but still they're asking for variances. So for me, that's a red flag. It's undersized, it's not to be subdivided. And then furthermore, I start looking at the scale between 4 units and mostly 1 units on lots surrounding the area. There can be the argument, yes, the lot directly beside them has multiple units within the historical barn in the back and the dwelling in the front. But that also is twice the size of this land mass right now. So it's kind of comparing not apples and apples. So for me, I can't get behind it to support it, also because of and I know people don't want to hear the historical town plat, but people do come to town because of that, whether they move to town as a resident, whether they come here as a visitor, whether they come here as a business owner. There's a certain richness to the town and to the town plat. I'm not saying this development is going to erode from it. I don't think it's going to enhance it. So in that way, I have to deny this application.
Anyone else want to put some comments on the record? Otherwise, no, excuse me. No, excuse me. It's back. It's at the table now. We're done with the presentations from the public.
Guess I didn't understand the regulations that this committee is operating under. I thought we were talking about, I didn't know that we were talking about this property, but.
Well, the regulations actually are that right now we're discussing it as a committee. So thank you for your comments, but we're gonna take it back to the table here, okay?
I don't
Thank you.
understand why
No,
subject
so,
to
excuse
trees,
me.
For example, has not been mentioned. I don't know the rules governing this.
Okay,
committee,
well,
but I want to have a chance to talk about trees and, what's the appropriate venue for me to do that?
well, it's not this meeting, unfortunately.
What is it?
I'm really not sure. Paul, what do you think?
Realistically, it's a building permit and a building property situation. We are dealing with a variance on setbacks. As it comes to lot clearing, trees and everything like that, there's no protections right now under the zoning bylaw that would prevent anybody from basically clearing their land, as you've seen on many properties outside of town, as well as this lot being prepared for development. So at this time, there is no comment as it pertains to trees. The comments that are being happening here are to the variances of the depth and the area that are in question.
So if there's no more comments from the committee on that, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of approving the motion to extend the variances in depth and, in depth and area for lots 1 and 2 on PID 01319086. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? 2 opposed? 4 in favor and 2 opposed. That motion is carried. Thank you. And does someone want to get Kevin? Thank you. My cover sheet for this. Taking it all apart and lost it. Thank you. I'll give it right back.
Oh, that's all right.
All right, we'll just take a quick recess here while Kevin is.
Yeah.
I'll sleep.
Welcome back. Yes, I'm sure it was. And I just before we get started on this file, we are kind of bumping up against our 9 o'clock time frame. So I'm just going to look around the table just for a consensus to complete this one file, even if it goes over 9 p.m. Do I have a consensus in that before I proceed? Thank you very much. All right, so we have PAC 250507. This is a variance application for 46 Quoddy Shores Drive, PID 151900507, Griffin, Leavitt. The applicant in this case is requesting to locate an accessory structure closer to the front lot line than the main building and a variance of height of the accessory structure. And at this time, Ms. Hartford, thank you very much. At this time, Judy, can you take us through your report?
Sure, one moment, please. Okay, as you said, there is 2 requests, and it is for the location of the accessory structure and the variance in height of the accessory structure. So this property is within the state residential zone at the end of a private access cul-de-sac. The single-family dwelling and attached garage are under construction on that
Ms.
lot.
Hartford, can you show from the slideshow from the beginning? We're just seeing your slide deck and.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. You're
Is
good.
that better?
Yep.
Okay, good. So the applicant has requested a variance in the location of a 16-foot by 32-foot 2-story detached garage. It is 896 square feet, so the top floor doesn't have the same front or footage as the bottom floor. So that's the 16 by 32 times 2 is not going to add up to 89 or 896. So that's why you're seeing that discrepancy. And so it's a 2-story detached garage, located closer to the front line than the main building. and to vary the maximum height of 3 feet to allow for an 18-foot high garage. The zoning bylaw does have standards for accessory structures in residential zones, and they shall not exceed 4.6 meters in height, which is 15 feet, or in case of a single-family dwelling, the height of the main building, but that would be if you have a 12-foot single-family dwelling, your garage could only go 12 foot. So the maximum is the 15 foot. They shall not be placed or erected or altered to be closer to the front lot line. So there's no flankage in this sense. So it's the front lot line of the main building, and to be placed, erected, or altered so it's closer to the side lot or rear lot requirement, and exceed more than 84 meters square, 904.2 foot square in gross floor area, or 10% of the lot. These are larger lots. They would be 1 acre lots, minimum lot size. So we're looking at the 904.2 square foot as being the gross floor area of the building. And that is the detached garage is under that 904. So the proposed garage does meet the minimum distance for property lines, and it does conform to the maximum area allowed. Notification of this PAC meeting was sent to properties within 250 meters. So they had to have a minimum of 12 properties. So the normal 100 meters, we did have to extend that out to get a minimum of 12 properties. You see, this is the lot here at the end of Quoddy Shores Drive. On the cul-de-sac, there is another lot here, but there is no development on it. So it's right on this end of the cul-de-sac. And as I said, it is zoned estate residential. This is a site plan here. You can see this would be the attached garage and the main dwelling. And this would be the location here of the detached garage. So there is a little bit of free coverage, not much from the cul-de-sac, but it is at the end of the cul-de-sac. And it would be located about 75 feet from that front property line. You can see this is looking in, and it is a construction site. As I said, it is under construction. And so that garage would be in this location here behind this dumpster. So you see there is a little bit of tree coverage, not much. It is at the end of the cul-de-sac though. And you see again, so that would be in this location here. And this would be looking from the cul-de-sac up. So you can see there are very large properties. If this application was coming and it was a property in the town plat, this would not be the same application being brought forward. But because this is on that cul-de-sac, this is why we're bringing the application to PAC. So PAC is asked to consider 2 variances in the location and the height of an accessory structure. The location of the house and the retaining wall does not allow for the construction of a detached garage in any other location. Not sure if I showed that. I'm going to go back to that picture to see if you can see it, but there's right here. So you can see there's a retaining wall right here on the side of the property. So the development is located at the end of a private access cul-de-sac and does not abut a public street. So private accesses are just for accessing individual properties and are not for public travel. So even at the beginning of this road, it does say that this is a private access and it is for the private individuals and anybody that they shall allow to come across that road, but it is not for a public travel road. So if we're looking in the town plat, obviously this wouldn't be an application where you'd want to have an accessory structure within the front yard of a property. Variances can be applied in situations where it's reasonable or desirable for the development of land as within the general intent of the bylaw. The general intent of the bylaw is to prevent accessory buildings from being overly prominent on a lot or in the front yard of the main building or structure. So the variance is reasonable and desirable as the lot is not on a public street nor in the town plat, and the height variance will allow for the storage of chattel to ensure property does not become unsightly with exterior storage. Therefore, staff believes that the proposed variances are reasonable and desirable for the development of land are within the general intent of the bylaw. The recommendation is staff recommends to the Planning Advisory Committee of the Town of St. Andrews grants the variance to allow for a detached garage within the front yard of a main building and the variance in height of 3 feet on the property in the state residential zone of the Town of St. Andrews zoning bylaw, said 2201, with the following terms and conditions. The property is developed in general conformity with the attached project description. And that's my presentation. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Ms. Hartford. Anyone from the committee have questions for the developer? Anyone? Or excuse me, I meant the planner. I meant the planner. I do know what I'm talking about. It doesn't seem like it, I know. Did you have some comments?
I just have a question, Judy, sorry. And I won't say much more tonight. Can you go back to the site plan,
Sure.
please? Thank you.
This one here?
Mhm. It won't be long, I swear, it won't be long. So the actual site plan, yeah, that one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, yes, so what exactly, like, I'm a little bit confused. Which building are we talking about? We're talking about the garage, or are we talking about that individual building that's by itself? And so
By
that,
itself, the detached garage here.
okay, so it's the detached garage. So you're not showing,
Mhm.
but it's not gonna be used as a garage.
Yes.
It will be used as a garage?
Yes, it's a detached garage. So this garage here is is an attached garage to the building. This is a
Right.
detached garage. Yes.
Okay, I guess I was confused because typically, as you show in the attached garage, there's a vehicle inside it. You're not showing a vehicle inside this one. So wasn't sure it was, I thought it was just like an extra add-on building. So they need to have an attached garage and a detached garage for the site.
For storage, yes.
He runs a plumbing business? No, I mean, I'm assuming this detached garage is for a vehicle. I'm assuming.
It could be for a vehicle. It could be for extra storage.
Garages.
It could be for lawnmowers. It could be for a four-wheeler.
Okay, okay.
I'm in my garage right now. Anyone else? Any comments for the planner? If not, is the applicant here ready to speak, make a presentation? No, answer any questions? Sure, come on up. Yeah.
PAC, do you have any questions?
No.
The applicant?
No.
No, there's not any questions.
No,
It
good
is for a single car garage to put an extra vehicle in there.
So I guess you couldn't do. So I guess you couldn't do a three vehicle garage where the existing proposed two garage. Is that because of the retaining wall?
The property is two residences. So the attached garage is for the residence on the left. The detached garage is for the residence on the right that's connected by the breezeway.
Okay, so it's two families living there. Okay.
Pays to ask, Dwight. Thank you. Thank you.
So, Madam Chair, I'd like
Yes.
to make a motion
Oh, please do.
that the Planning Advisory Committee for the Town of St. Andrews grants variances for 46 Quoddy Shores Drive, PID 151905007 for Griffin Leavitt based on the following. Number one, a variance to allow for a detached garage within the front yard of the main building. Two, a variance in height of 3 feet on the property of the estate residential zone of the Town of St. Andrews zoning bylaw Z22-01. And number three, terms and conditions that the property is developed in general conformity with the site plan provided to the Southwest Regional Service Commission, and I so move.
Thank you very much. We have a seconder, Mr. Simmons. Thank you very much. Any further discussion? If not, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving these variances as per the planning report, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? There being none, that motion is also carried. Thank you very much. All right. Moving on. We have no terms and conditions applications. We have no sign applications. Good night. Thank you very much for sticking it out. We have no new business. Any PAC member comments at this time? Beyond what we've already discussed? Yes, Mr. Simmons.
I know I just stepped in for this last one, but it would have been really informative to know that it was a dual residence. Is there any reason?
News to me.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, and then it clearly shows it on it. You show the breezeway, you see two fully homes and cars on cars both sides, but it'd be interesting to know. I mean, he just said it,
Mhm.
So that knowledge.
But I guess back to PAC, do you really need to know that? You're looking at the file from a planning standpoint with a request for a detached garage. Do you
Mm.
need to know that there's multiple families there, or would you have been fine with one family there? Would it have made a difference in your decision?
Probably not.
No. Thank you.
We're not allowed, it's private.
I'm quite confident whatever they do there is going to be good.
Yeah,
If you really want it,
I can see from Katie's Cove.
that's what
that
I was
it's
going to say. If you
be
want to see
very
from
nice.
Katie's Cove from the trestle, you can see it being developed there.
Exactly, yeah. We're not through the agenda yet.
More private roads.
That has been there for a long time.
But it should be assumed by the town.
Oh, Mr. Ingalls, can you please say that on record?
It should be. I mean, I'm sorry.
Please turn on your microphone.
But I mean, all of a sudden.
We're still on.
Mr.
record,
Ingalls,
so
you're
please
still
turn
on, so
your-
please turn on your
Yeah,
microphone.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thank you. No, it's off right now. Yes, but we're still on. So if this is a part of the
Yes,
discussion
this
of
meeting is
PAC, it's
being
still running.
recorded.
oh, we can talk about this.
Okay. Any other PAC member comments? Yes, Ms. Mercer.
Thank you. It may be more of a question for you, Chair. I'm just wondering, so in the course of making decisions on applications, we identify things we do and don't like about policies and bylaws, et cetera. Is there any mechanism for like tracking that or making suggestions to council or anything like that, that just arise out of us looking at applications?
We've actually done that before. There was actually a motion put on the table at one of our meetings that we forward some concerns about fencing, I think, to town council, just unprovoked, just being advisory council as we are. So if during a meeting, a motion is put forward to forward a letter to council expressing our views, I do that very happily.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
good to know. Thank you.
Good to know.
And I could also know through you, Madam Chair, that council is also welcome to those comments, because that's how they can help construct and make better bylaws and better decisions on policy and procedure. So council likes to hear that type of feedback. And more specifically, when council starts going through the zoning bylaw municipal plan, that's going to be another prime time for PAC where you will provide views on that whole document.
Yeah,
So if
definitely.
you've got concerns now, or there's things you're going to see, because we're also going to be looking at it from a rural lens as well now, with Bayside and Shamcook wards included in this. So it's going to have a different look and feel. So
Mhm.
if there's comments and so you're going to have to expand your thinking from urban and rural as well with it.
Yeah, definitely. No, we've done it before and actually made a difference. We got some changes made. So yes. That was good. All right. Anyone else before I move on? No? All right. No closed items. Here we are. Ooh, that's pretty good. 8:58. We are adjourned.